Welcome to Jolene's Books and Writers Talk, where every story has a backstory and every writer has a journey worth sharing. I'm your host and moderator, Jolene McFadden, and today we have a delightful guest joining us on the show. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, if you find these podcasts helpful and or entertaining, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to whichever channel you found us on. Also, anyone out there who is in the book business who would like to be a guest on our show next season, please check out my website, southerndragonpublishing.com, for more information. Now let's talk about our guest. Children's author Jennifer Nestor is here to talk about her imaginative and empowering book, Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality, a colorful and meaningful adventure that encourages young readers to embrace who they are and celebrate what makes them unique. It's a story filled with heart, self-discovery, and of course, a little bit of wild fun in the jungle. But Jennifer's talent doesn't stop at storytelling. She's also passionate about nurturing individuality and self-worth in children, and that passion shines through in her writing, her creative projects, and her vibrant online presence. You can find out more about Jennifer and her work at jennestorauthor.com and connect with her on social media, where she shares inspiration, behind the scenes glimpses of her writing life, and updates on upcoming projects. Just search for her handle at Jen Nestor Author on your favorite platform. Grab your favorite cup of tea or other beverage, settle in, and let's get ready to explore Jennifer's writing journey, her creative process, and the story behind Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality. You're in for a heartfelt and inspiring conversation. Let's dive in.
My name's Jennifer Nestor, and I have been in marketing and communications for about 12 years. I currently live in St. Augustine, Florida, and I recently published my first children's book, Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality. It published in July of last year. I'm extremely excited. This book is for kids ages 4 to 9, and it covers important topics like bullying, anxiety, mindfulness, and more. So it's the perfect educational resource and tool for not only schools in Florida, but school counselors, librarians, any type of homeschool cohort. It really is a great resource to discuss social emotional learning topics. Definitely excited to be able to share this piece of literature with all of the wonderful people that'll be in Gainesville at the end of the month.
Are you traditionally published or self-published?
So this book is self-published. I am currently working on another project that's in a different genre that I am hopefully going to query this year. And the goal for that one would be to be traditionally published. It is outside of the realm of children's, but for this one specifically, I self-publish so that I can have kind of more creative control over selecting my illustrator and what everything would look like.
Excellent. And did you publish it through KDP or Inger's Spark or both?
So I actually went a different route, and I worked with a distributor, a company called BookBaby, who's very similar to Ingram, that helped do the print on demand side. So they really have like ownership of uploading it to Amazon and doing all the KDP things, in addition to selecting a few of their network retailers as well. So my book is in like Barnes and Noble. It's been on Target.com and Walmart.com and some of the larger retailers due to that distributor connection through BookBaby.
And so far, you're satisfied with their service?
I would say that there's been some snags along the way as far as the distribution portion and like a misunderstanding on behalf of the books not being available in the brick and mortar stores, really more so just online for those retailers. So I've been working really hard to advocate for myself and take the book to different local stores, indie stores in the area, and really trying to like pitch the book. I've been successful, and luckily I'm in 12 different retailers now just by going and being persistent, but it wasn't based on the services that I was told would be provided from them. No, to answer your question, I wouldn't say I'm 100% happy with the services. To be honest, I chose them because it was my first book and I really wanted the brand visibility and exposure. And coming from that background myself, I knew I would handle like the marketing pieces and do as much as I possibly could on my own. But as far as the knowledge to be able to upload all the files and really know the best approach there, I was really trusting them to own that piece of it and help me get the distribution that I was looking for this first one.
You have to try things.
Yeah.
Are you a member of the Children's Society of Illustrators?
I am,
Okay.
yeah. A member of that, and then also the Independent Author Alliance, so Ally. And then locally, I'm part of the Authors of the Roundtable in our city in Jacksonville. That's really associated with the Jacksonville Library. So that's been really good too, as far as like being a part of those memberships to learn and grow and see how other people are being successful. Yeah.
Good point. And would you recommend any other writing groups or associations for new authors to consider?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, I've actually been looking into Manuscript Academy online. They seem to have the opportunity for people to be able to like meet with agents, have them look at query letters. If you want to go the traditional route, that could be a good group to be a part of. I've been doing a little bit of research and kind of some of their free webinars, and they seem to be a good group to follow and be a part of. They also have some social media groups on Facebook and other things where you could connect with other authors that are querying, get beta readers and so forth. I would say that kind of sparked my interest for this year, and I might join that. And then there's also quite a few children's author Facebook groups online that I'm a part of. There's one large group online that has authors and illustrators. There's thousands of people in it, and I really try to follow and learn from some people what's working and what's not. So I think if a new author wants to try to find a space where they can network and meet fellow authors, that might be a good place to find them. And then there's also a group on Instagram that's called Kids Discover Books, and we used to be called Kidlit Chat, but now there's a group of about almost 200 kids authors and illustrators in there. And that's been really helpful for me to be able to network, talk to some other authors and see what's working for them, what's not, and get feedback too on how do things look from your end? What do you think about this concept or post or whatnot? And that has helped me feel I'm not alone in the author journey, especially being a new debut author. Really being able to get like more bearings that way and feel supported has been really nice. So I would look for those types of groups too online.
In your writing process, have you utilized the new AI tools to help you create?
I am a fan of Scrivener for like longer books and manuscripts. I used to use a program called Celtics that was more of like a screenwriting program for some of my longer manuscripts, and I really like that. I would say as far as AI goes, being in the marketing background, I have used AI, ChatGPT for outlining and so forth, but I don't really agree with the concept of using AI to write any type of stories and so forth. Like I wouldn't personally feel like ethically comfortable using that unless I'm either outlining or looking for a good summary. So if I'm trying to pitch the book or maybe I'm doing a query letter, I've dabbled a little bit into ChatGPT for that just to get examples. But outside of that, I really haven't done too much AI at this time.
Okay. And on TikTok,
Yeah.
with all that's happening there, have you delved into researching where you might want to consider going if it does go away?
Yeah, I think for me personally, one of the reasons why I selected TikTok is because they had the TikTok shop option. It was something that I was looking into to potentially have an additional place to sell my books. And then also just knowing that they had the big book talk community on there. If they were to go away based on everything that's happening, I think I'd really lean more on like Threads and Blue Sky and more of the channels that have an agent and like a bigger presence in our community. While there are authors and other illustrators and so forth, and maybe even agents on TikTok, I haven't really found that there's as much of a community to communicate with one another on there. So I think like some of those other channels where you can like message one another and like reply and repost and so forth, like verbiage might be better for us in the future as far as that connection goes. So I'm not too worried about it, but that's really where I think I would spend more of my time if that were to happen.
Do you have a newsletter?
I do. I currently use a program called SendFox. It's a little bit different than some of the other email programs. I found it to be a little bit more cost effective for me. Really looking where I want to invest my dollars, I put more into my website than the newsletter portion. However, I do have a growing email list of about over 4,000 now from doing some like giveaways with other authors and so forth. And then I also ran a Kickstarter campaign last year before I launched my first project, which helped me kind of gain a bigger following in the beginning and like people that were like invested in the book and the project and wanting to see it come to fruition. I do send out weekly emails that are in a newsletter format. Every now and then, if I feel like I don't have enough content, I'll do it bi-weekly or every 3 weeks. It really just depends on the season. But I try to like keep my followers like updated on what's new, what stores we're in, where I'm going to be for events, because I've done quite a few events since last year. And then also big things like the festival or like maybe a new project I'm working on and so forth. So yes, I send out the newsletters.
This new project that you're working on,
Yeah.
is it in the children's fiction realm?
No, it's actually more like crossover between young adult and romance. Very, I want to say, like more on the innocent level of a story about falling in love and so forth, and like the impacts it has on you as a person as you evolve with that significant other. I'm really excited about it. It's definitely something that I've had written for a while. I had about 8,000 words already written, and I had it as more of a short story format a while ago. I had entered a contest about 4 years ago online, and I shortened it for the contest and I never finished it, but I really believe in it and I know it's like a solid story. So I decided last year to revisit it and change it from a short story to an actual novel size. So I'm trying to get to at least over 30,000 words. So it's about halfway there now. And I'm hoping to have something to pitch this year that is in that realm.
The reason why I asked that is,
Yeah.
is it far enough away to where you would consider using a pen name?
That's a great question. I would love to use a pen name. I've actually thought of different names to use. I think my main concern is starting out in children's, knowing that I had like a message I really wanted to get out to the kids, but knowing in the back of my mind that eventually I wanted to go to a different genre. I think having a pen name would make the most sense because I'd like to promote them separately and really make two different styles of audiences. I'm imagining like a whole different website, whole different social media handles, even though I put mine as Jen Nestor author instead of like children's author or anything in the handles. I don't know if I feel comfortable being out there as me for that type of genre, knowing that I still have more books in the Jane series coming.
Well, that's probably the reason why most authors do that, is so that they
Yeah.
build different audiences.
Yeah.
I do nonfiction under my name, Jolene McFadden. And then I started doing fiction under a pen name, and I keep
Okay.
them both separate.
Yeah.
And because I'm doing historical, steam mystery,
Okay.
romance kind of things, in nonfiction, I'm a researcher and all that.
Yeah.
I can separate the two.
Yeah. Did you find at first that creating the pen name for you, if you didn't already have a following with that pen name, would that basically hurt your opportunity of getting picked up if you were to query to be traditionally published? I don't know like your background and if you're self or traditional, but did that make any type of negative impact from having a pen name, or was it more of a positive thing?
I'm self-published. I'm indie all the way around. But
Yeah.
I have clients. I had a mentor. She was traditionally published to begin with. She was
Okay.
with all the romance houses during the 80s, early 90s. And then she went self-publishing because they were too restrictive.
Yeah.
She had 4 or 5 pen names. Each house wanted her to have their own pen names
Okay.
to associated with that house. So it keeps it separate. And so, yeah, you're probably going to have a pen name if you go traditional because they want to market the personality.
Yeah.
Even if you change your hair or wear a hat or change your outfits or give yourself a little personality or use an avatar or whatever. I'm using an avatar of myself as my fiction thing on all of my marketing, except for the TikToks. I can't do too much about that except for the cartoon avatar. I like that one a lot.
I'll have to pick
I'm
your brain
convinced
about pen name stuff later.
What I've noticed, for heaven's sakes, please don't get a pen name that has anything to do with any other author because it's so hard to distinguish yourself
Yeah.
on a search engine if you're any derivative of that name. So you don't want like anything with Rowling or anything like that. So what I did is I used AI, as a matter of fact, give me several suggestions of a historical, a genre related name.
Oh, that's
what I ended up doing was doing my initials, Lily Jade Green, LJ Green.
Yeah.
And because I love the name Lillian, and there was one Lillian Green author, but she died in the long time ago.
Yeah.
So we're not mixed.
Okay.
So it's a suggestion to help you keep yourself clear from other things.
Thank you.
Yeah. As a published author, even though you're fairly new at it, what advice would you give another author just starting in the children's realm? 2 tips that you want to share.
Tip number 1, if I was giving advice to a new children's author, it would be to network as much as possible. And I would say both online with other authors and then also locally. Really, reason being is because I've learned so much from talking to other professionals in the writing industry. When I first started this, I didn't know the process for anything. And being able to make those connections really helped me feel confident in the approach I was taking as far as not only just the publishing part, but the marketing as well. So I'd say networking would be number 1. And then number 2 would be to present yourself in a very passionate way about your project, because if you are not passionate and believe in what you're doing, then your audience is not going to believe in it either. I think the most effective forms of content that I've had where I've seen a lot of engagement, whether it be in an email or social media post, are the ones where you can feel like the humanizing language behind what I'm saying. So it was really talking about the mission that I have as far as like improving kids' lives when it comes to anxiety and depression, and then also the bullying piece, but then sharing stories and personal testimonies of things that I went through as a kid, getting bullied and so forth, that really encouraged me to feel like this topic was needed for the kids in our society now. So I think just showing how passionate I am about the project and the concept behind the book has really gone over well with those who have read it and people I meet at events and so forth. All that to say, like, authentically be yourself and show the passion that you have about what you're doing.
In Florida and other places around the world, especially in schools, they're banning books about diversity and all this other stuff. What would you suggest to parents? What should we do to help our kids in school? Should we insist that they be put back in, or what do you think we should do?
I think as parents, it's really important to advocate for the necessity of having those types of books in the schools, especially things that relate to social emotional learning topics that the kids are experiencing every day. Diversity and inclusion and bullying and mental health and all those things are not going anywhere. So banning the books is not necessarily an answer. And if the parents are able to go to the school board, especially in Florida specifically, like this is a state where we've seen a lot of issues with banning books. They don't have anything in them that should cause them to be banned. They might have one small word that a board didn't like. So I think like coming together as a community or as a state and really trying to make a petition for change would be really important. And that starts at the parent level and the PTO level and the ones that really have the influence in the school systems to then take that to the board and share reasoning as to why we need these forms of content in the schools. I feel like if those books aren't read by kids and they're sheltered from these things, they're never going to learn and grow as humans. And I think that it's really doing a disservice by not taking action as parents to try to get this resolved or flag that there's a problem here. And I don't have the answers for anything, but I think that would strike a change in a sense.
Now, what two pieces of advice would you give to new authors to not?
I think one thing to not do is don't try to be like everyone else and read a bunch of books and imitate that, right? Like, I think it's really important to be unique in your messaging and find your niche. So as a marketer, that's one of the first things I'm going to say is find out what topic matters the most to you and write about that. Don't just write a topic because it's popular or because other people have had success in doing it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to have success in doing that. So don't plagiarize, don't copy, don't read a bunch of books and write the exact same thing. Be unique. And then I'd say another thing not to do would be to write a book that won't be understood by the actual kids. What I see a lot is like some people are writing kids' books for more of a adult receiving it as far as like the language goes and so forth. So you really need to know your reader and understand that, yes, to you that might sound great, but to a child, they might not understand the concepts. And so just be cognizant of that for sure.
So how would somebody who hasn't had a child in their life in a long time or ever, my kid's been grown for 30 years now, how would you suggest an author would gather beta readers, as it were, in the children's realm?
Yeah, I'm the perfect person to ask this question to because I don't have kids. I actually leaned a lot on my nieces and then my friends who have kids in my age demographic. So what I did was I wrote my manuscript. I sent it to about 6 different parents I knew that had kids in the 4 to 9 range that could read the book with them. And then I also sent it to 4 different teachers I knew that were teaching the grade level that the book was for before I even put the book out. So just manuscript to get the beta readers. And then what I did was I compiled the feedback from them and then implemented that with like my next draft version. So I think getting beta readers, like people in your family, you could ask people online that are parents and other authors, if you trust them, to send your manuscript to them and get feedback that way. And I believe that there is programs online where they have communities of beta readers on certain platforms. So I would also like maybe do some research and see if you can find one of those if you don't have kids in your family or friends that have kids in your demographic age range.
Very good advice. I often wondered about that. I wanted to thank.
Well, that was an interesting interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, we hope you will like, subscribe, comment, and share our post with your social media and your friends and family. If you're an author or anyone else in the book business and would like to be part of our podcast, we would love to have you. Check out the website, southerndragonpublishing.com, and there's a tab for the podcast. Check it out. We'll see you next time.